There's another one that's more fire. Okay, so overall. Oh, the actual PDF version? This is, oh, I have it. Yes. I have it.
Hey, Mark, Amy's got it.
Is there anything else you want me to highlight them for this committee? I'm Elizabeth. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Well, Amy's got it where I sent to you. I mean, LSA did it, but I don't remember
I put the live stream up.
who.
Yeah, exactly. Marketing.
Okay, great.
Well, you know what I mean?
Sure.
You need a pen? You don't have to.
I think I didn't read it. No, that's Space Camp. That's Space Camp, yeah. Well, he just found it.
Okay.
So nothing like,
Last minute.
yeah.
Keeping everybody loud.
If it's easy, anybody do it, right?
So you have it.
I love Mark.
The gang is out here. It's 1:30, so we're gonna call education policy almost to order. I'm gonna take a welcome. The gang is all here. It's good to have a full house for education policy. I'm gonna take a moment of personal privilege, and I have a page with me today. I'm gonna ask her to stand. Her name is Riley McPhillips, and she is my granddaughter. And she'll be happy to chat with you if you want to. So I'm glad to have her with us this week. And so I'm gonna, before we get started, ask our minority leader on our committee, Representative Drummond, to open us in prayer.
Good afternoon, everybody. May we bow our heads. Oh, Heavenly Father, it's once again that we come before your throne of mercy. Lord, we come with a heart of thanksgiving, Lord, knowing that we all stand here to do the best that we possibly can for education in the state of Alabama. Lord, we ask that you bless each member of this committee name by name and one by one. And Father, we say go into our hearts and let us know, Father, that what we're doing is going to move Alabama upward and forward. Oh, Father, we give you all of the honor and the praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative Collins.
Here.
Representative Baker.
Here.
Representative Drummond. Here. Representative Daniels. Here. Representative Dubose. Representative Estes.
Here.
Representative Fincher. Here. Representative Gidley. Representative Gray. Here. Representative Holk Jones. Representative Morris. Representative Paramore. Representative Pascal. Representative Smith. Here. Representative Woods. A quorum is present.
Thank you very much. We are going to call House Bill 188, but I sponsor that, and so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Representative Baker.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, would you prefer to stay where you are?
I would.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right. With that, then, we have HB 188 before us, then. So with the clerk, I assume we're ready to move forward then with the bill, HB 188. So as sponsor, then, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you letting me just stay in place for the sake of time, if nothing else. House Bill 188, we have seen it over the last few years. We have worked with each and every request to work on this bill, and the goal of this bill is we are one of the few states that has no due process set in law, in code, and so what we wanted to do was to take some of the best practices that we saw around the state and make a minimum standard, and we've tried to work with each and every group. I want to say thank you to all the groups that have worked with us, even Zoom calls this weekend. So I thank you for that. We've included that. The difference in this one, after all the other changes, I won't go through all of them, but the line 61 through 73 completely came out, which was the code of conduct part and the law. We are not including ISS, and it doesn't mention the age anymore. And then we also added a definition of long-term alternative school placement, and we changed the time if it was not more than 10, but more than 15 days. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I ask to adopt the sub.
All right, the sponsor has explained the bill and the subsequent sub. Is there a motion?
I move.
Okay, there's been a
Second.
motion to accept the sub and a second. Okay, motion by Drummond, second by Fincher. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, with that, then the sub has been adopted. Then,
I move to give the bill a favorable report.
okay,
Thank you.
all right, is discussion, okay.
And before, I just wanted to say to Representative Collins, I know this bill has been around for a while, and I think to some others that are in the room, really want to thank you all for working very hard on this bill. It's a far cry from where it was, but I still think that it's a pretty good piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there's been a motion then to give the bill a favorable report as substituted, and a second by Representative Morris. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, then, HB 188 has been given, as substitute, has been given a favorable report. Madam Chair, I return the gavel back to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much, and I appreciate all of you continuing to work with us to get something right. I think that's the end goal that we all look for. And we are going to go a little bit out of order because some people have some different things going on. So at this point, I'm going to call up House Bill 83, and Representative Estes has that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And yes, I do have a 2 o'clock, so I appreciate your working with me to move up the calendar just a bit. I have stood here before and said this is the easiest bill we've ever taken under consideration. Well, this is not that, but it's pretty close. So the Senate passed our companion bill on this yesterday by unanimous vote. So I think that should show you what kind of support this bill has. In short, what this does, there has been no change in school board member compensation since 2003. That is currently capped under state law at $600 per month. We're asking that that be raised to $900. Before anybody panics, that will not automatically go into place. For those of you who have read the bill, you will see where the local board has to take a vote to enact raising it from 600 anywhere up to 900. It doesn't have to go to 900, but it can be between the 6 and 900. And of course, they could not vote themselves a raise. They would vote for it to take effect at the beginning of the next term. Also, what that does is it puts this bill will also put a little teeth. Many of you were here and remember when the School Board Governance Act was passed in 2012, trying to encourage, for lack of a better word, our school board members to remain active in the AASB Academy and make sure they are up to date on all the latest trends and information and legal turns that affect education in our state and across the nation. And having been there myself and been a local school board member for 15 years in my hometown of Winfield, it is not very arduous. They're not asking you to, go to summer camp, like the National Guard and take 2 weeks or anything like that. It's a total of 6 hours. So to say it's a minimum standard, it is minimal, but it is very, very informative, I can promise you. So what we're doing, you still have a few, not many, but you have a few board members across the state who either do not see the importance of that or have not marked it on their calendar or whatever, and they have not taken the time to do so. This would actually put some teeth into the School Board Governance Act of 2012, where it's now required by law, but we don't have anything to let's say, encourage that and make sure that it happens. So for those few that are not in compliance, their monthly salary would be held in escrow by the local board until they came into compliance, at which time then they would be paid. If for some reason so they pass or choose not to run again or whatever the case may be, and they're no longer in office and still not compliant, the money that is held in escrow would simply revert back to the local Board of Education. So that's as quick a summary as I can give you on that, and I will be glad to answer any questions.
Representative Baker.
Just one sort of, I guess, comment and then maybe a follow-up question of you, or either it could be through the AASB representation that's here. And in my home county is Escambia County, then Bruton City School Board, to my knowledge, does not receive compensation. So although you mentioned anywhere between 600 to 900 would be a part of this, this now would be then nothing then above that. So anyway, as I see, the legislation does not change anything that I could see in that. So to your knowledge, then it simply would allow, so for those that do receive compensation, this just allows them the threshold being at 900 is what that does.
Yes.
But it does not in any way then require that there be compensation for their service.
Well, the way the bill's worded, it would allow those boards to be compensated should they choose to. When, like I said, when I was
Right.
at Winfield, it was a joke by Dr. Aubrey Sewell, who was on the board with me. He voted every June he would make a motion that we would double our salary. Well, of course, it was zero, so it remained at zero. And so all 67 county boards are paid, and I've got numbers here I could refer to. Over half of the city boards are compensated, but no, a board member never has to take compensation. If he or she chooses to serve as a community service, they certainly remain and retain the right to do so.
Very, very good. I do see Ada Catherine sort of shaking her head. Yes, so that does then permit, I guess we have some great board members in Bruton City and have had in the past now that have chosen then to perform their service then with no compensation. Of course, that is a collective, then it's a board decision then that they've made collectively. So it's not individual members, that's the entire
Yes, sir.
board.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Representative Morris.
Can you, with the escrow, with it going into an escrow account, can you give me some information about what would be the cause of it?
Well, the basic reason for putting money in escrow is that the board member would not be in compliance.
In compliance. Give me some information about not being in
Okay.
compliance. What does that mean?
Certainly, good question. AASB currently requires 6 hours of annual training. You come to Birmingham or Montgomery or where the meeting is held, and you're given months of notice when that's going to be. And you come and sit, and they will update you on special education law, or just any litany of things that a board member needs to be aware of to be informed and prepared to make educated decisions on behalf of their children and their community. And so if you don't attend those hours and meet that standard, then you're not in compliance. Yes, ma'am.
Representative Woods.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really like what you're trying to accomplish here with this bill. I think we need a well-informed and educated board member for these boards of education. My only question is, if you have someone who's running for one of these positions, how could they be made aware that this will be a requirement in order to get paid for a position that is paid?
Well, I won't say anything about running. I was personally appointed. That may be something I have to defer to AASB, but I know as quickly as I came on the board, AASB reaches out to you as a new member and informs you of the services they provide. And this is one of the main services they provide is education, collective education. And of course, they're always right there at your disposal if you have an individual question or a call. I know in my 15 years, they never failed to answer a call that I made and did homework and got back in touch with me immediately if they couldn't answer immediately. And so they make every effort to once you're on that board. As far as running, I would look back here and then ask, I don't know if there's efforts made to reach out to candidates who are running to make them aware of this or not.
I have no knowledge of who the candidates are, but we make that information available on our website. And to follow up what Representative Estes said, is that every superintendent gets a memo about the changes that are the requirements that they share with their school.
And AASB, I can attest from, as I said, from personal relationship with them over the years, is they remain in constant contact with board members, their membership. And so there's never an excuse saying, well, I didn't know the meeting was coming up, or I didn't know what date and time and location it was held. I mean, they are very, very information heavy. And so this is just a way to let board members remain in touch with changing laws and things that they need to know to sit around that table and make educated decisions.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion? See a motion to give a bill a favorable report from Representative Woods, second from Representative Fincher. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members.
Don't see Stubbs in here.
I just texted her.
Okay.
I passed it from
We will. We are, and I apologize that we're going a little out of order for people, but it's that kind of a session. We are going to go into our let me see, which one are we going to go to? Into 130. And so I'm going to call up House Bill 130 by Representative Butler. We had a public hearing on that before the first break. And so today, if you've got questions about House Bill 130, please let me know.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Do y'all have any questions for us?
You want to remind them the details or anything?
Sure.
That would be fine.
This is basically an extension of the bill that was passed in 2022, banning discussions of sexual orientation or gender identity and the discussion and instruction on it. And this expands it to K-12. And also I'm anticipating a couple of amendments.
Are there any questions? Does anyone have an amendment they'd like to offer?
I've got that, Madam Chair.
Okay, Representative Gidley.
All right, we have two amendments. One of those we actually covered in the public hearing. We had that week before last. And it has to do, it's replacing line 23 on page 1 with this phrase, gender identity or sexual orientation in public K-12 schools, to prohibit the display of certain flags and insignia in public K-12 schools. And then to add, replace lines 34, 35 with this. No teacher or public K-12 employee may display a flag or other insignia relating to or representing sexual orientation or gender identity in a classroom or on the property of a public K-12 school. The second amendment is to replace line 23. Ma'am.
The second one's the one I just asked.
Okay, but we have to adopt them one at a time.
Okay, all right, good. So that's the first amendment.
So we have a motion to amend the House Bill 130. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Woods. Is there any discussion about that? Yes, Representative Drummond.
Is this to Representative Gidley?
I think
On the
Gidley,
amendment?
I think it's to Gidley on the amendment, but I think it's also if you've got a question of the sponsor about it.
Okay, what is the penalty and how will you know and identify what those flags are or what insignia? I'm trying to understand who's going to police this.
Well, the school was, and there is no penalty built into the bill. It's just simply banning those.
But how will the educators, the schools, or whoever, the principal, how will they know or identify what this flag is, what it stands for? Is there an education component that goes along with this on anything that deals with gender identity?
Well, I think we all know what we're getting at is some schools that are displaying the pride flags, some of the educators.
I'm just saying, as a legislator, I don't know what the flags are. I don't know what the insignias are.
I know, and
I'm
is
sure
hard
I'm
to
not
keep up
the
with
only one.
a lot of things. I understand that. Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, as an educator, how will they know? How will they, is it when someone complains?
May I speak to that, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. In that, the second part of that, it says representing sexual orientation or gender identity in a classroom. So I feel like that kind of defines what that would be. I mean, that may vary, but to me, that kind of brings the definition of what those things would be and how they may be represented. I don't know, because like I said, we may have 40 different ways that's done. But
I certainly understand that, Representative Gidley, but, I'm old enough, and young folks, they have what I thought meant one thing, it means another today. And there again, I'm trying to find out, how will you identify that? Is there that's a lot to put on educators. So how is that going to be policed, or how will they even know what it means? Because I'm serious. Representative Collins introduced her granddaughter. I'm sure there are even words I don't like kids to text me because I don't know what it means. So, I mean, I'm serious. SMH, I had somebody say, what does that mean? I have to go and
Shaking
Google
my head.
things. Yeah, but I'm just saying that there are things that have certain meanings to young people that we are not aware of what they are. And so and I'm sure there are a lot of educators that will be put in this same dilemma.
Well, to answer your question, the only flag that I'm aware of is the pride flag. That's what this was out. This was brought to us by a group of moms.
Representative Daniels.
Representative, so you had a group of moms to contact you from your district,
Yes, sir.
and
Well, they're from all over.
okay, I'm not aware of. I've never been contacted by any moms about a flag, and so did they send you pictures of this flag? Did you get to the bottom of it to figure out?
No, sir,
'Cause
we didn't go
what my concern is that we continue to try to pass laws on identifying isolated incidents when there's a local school board there. When the local school board has jurisdiction over that particular school, that school system, and can set all the rules and policies, and now we're taking something that from an isolated incident, and now we're applying, making it applicable to the entire state of Alabama, which is is problematic for me. And so I'm just trying to understand, why was the flag displayed? Do you have any context?
I do not. It's been a long time since I've
And
been.
so you don't have all the information to even make an informed decision that we need to go down this road.
Well,
So help me
we
understand
do have a lot of, just today, when I was in Representative Gidley's office, we had a lady sharing with us about her grandson that was literally indoctrinated and became a girl, that he's identifying as a girl, and she felt like it was the teacher that did it. And that was just today.
Man, give me a break. We'll talk offline because what I want to say, there are too many cameras in here for me to say what I want to say. So we'll talk offline.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? We have a motion to amend House Bill 30. Did I hear a second? Second by Representative Woods. Are there any other questions? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
No.
I think the ayes have it, and so we have amended the bill. Representative Gidley? Yes. You had a second amendment?
Yes, we do. Okay. This replace line 23. Gender identity with these words: gender identity or sexual orientation in public K-12 schools, and to prohibit instruction related to gender identity or sexual orientation at any program or activity of the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission. Would also replace lines 36 through 37. With the following: the implementation and enforcement of this section, Section 2. An individual or group of individuals providing instruction to students 18 years of age or younger at any program or other activity operated, developed, hosted, or promoted by the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission pursuant to Article 15 of Chapter 9 of Title 41, Code of Alabama 1975, including but not limited to Space Camp and other youth science programs, shall not engage in instruction regarding sexual orientation or gender identity. The Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission shall adopt policies for the implementation and enforcement of this subsection, and the act shall become effective October 1.
I have some concerns about calling out one institution when we have camps and things all over. I will say that, and then I'll see, we have a motion to amend the bill 130, again, House Bill 130. Do I hear a second? Second by Representative Pascal. Is there any discussion?
I'll start it off.
Representative
I'm
Drummond.
not a shrinking violet. I too have a problem with singling out one organization, and that's because that surfaced to the forefront. And I've been reading all of the news accounts, and I don't think that that's fair. And what will you do? Will you come back when you find that there are others? And will we just patchwork and keep doing it over and over again? And I'm using your word from the public hearing, until you purify the state of Alabama. this bill is going to run people away rather than bring people to Alabama. And I just don't understand why you're picking on this one organization. Are you going to take a scope and go throughout the state of Alabama and any of these organizations, anywhere that you may see somebody who may gender identity, you will then come back and say, okay, we need to pass another bill and exemplify, to make sure that it's not being done there. When will this stop?
Well, hopefully,
When will this stop? I think this is utterly just ridiculous.
Hopefully
when
this-
will it stop?
hopefully this will send the message that it's inappropriate for the instructors, the teachers, to teach sexual orientation and gender identity.
But what if that person, you talked about the person that turned the child into being a girl, I believe it was. What if that is who she is? And mentally, that's who she is. What is she to do? Is she to cease from existing?
Absolutely not. We're to
Well, then, what kind of message are we sending here?
Well, I personally believe we're sending the wrong message. For over 2 decades,
I think this bill is sending the wrong message.
but transgender was actually known as a mental disorder. And then in 2012, it was changed to gender dysphoria to soften the blow on it.
Representative Daniels.
So what is help me understand the consequence? If we're prohibiting this from K through 12, what's the consequence? Do we have a consequence associated with this?
No, sir.
So what's the purpose? If there's no consequence to it, then why are we doing it? How are we going to stop it?
Well, I don't know that we ever stop anything. We have laws against robbing banks, and they get robbed continually all the time. But
But the person that get caught does have a consequence. And so I guess I'm just trying to understand, because we're singling out. It's like everything is public schools are just under attack. Why don't we add all schools to this then? We want to stop it. You want to stop it from the one system.
I will
but not all
accept that amendment. That's a friendly amendment.
I'm not offering the amendment. What I'm saying to you, we're creating laws where we're trying to prohibit things from certain groups, but we're not making it applicable to all.
We're not picking on the group, sir, because we taught to love everybody.
Why don't
We're
you?
picking on the instruction of it.
But if there's no consequence, then how can you stop it?
We didn't delve into that part. We just simply took the protections that were there K-5 and making it K-12.
Okay, but what protections? There's no protections if there's no consequence.
Well, there would be some, the school.
Help me on. You're a school board member, right?
I was 10 years.
Okay, so in the decisions you made at that local system applied to that, make it applicable to that system, and there were the consequences associated with it, but this one there's no consequences, and now we're making laws that apply to a certain group of people, but not broadly. So we're thinking about stopping it here, but then allow it to happen here. It's like we're allowing public schools, we're having them operate with one arm behind their back while everyone else is free to do what they want to do. So help me understand why we're trying to implement something with no consequence and only applicable to a certain a group of people.
I haven't found a parent yet that's come to me that is wanting this instruction to happen. I've had many with the opposite,
But
not
there-
wanting the instruction to happen. It's no different than if someone came and if you got teacher A, B, or C teaching whatever religion, people would be having to come apart. And this is no difference.
So why don't you expand this to all schools since we just passed the Tuesday?
I will accept that amendment, sir.
It's your bill. I don't like the bill, period.
I thought you were passing me, bringing me in.
No, what I'm trying to do is help you have a conversation about what our goal is and our mission is here.
Well, if it passes here today and we make it to the floor, I absolutely would look into that.
Now it's going to be a long day on the floor, but I'm just if it makes it to the floor.
Sure.
But I'm just saying that I just want us to start thinking about ways to solve problems instead of creating additional divisions and isolating groups that are not as in the appearance of being as strong as others. And it's almost like bullying, to be honest with you. We're bullying a certain class or group of people because they don't have the representation to fight back.
We're wanting just the teachers to focus on the academics and let the social issues stay at home.
So now you want to be a school board member again.
Absolutely.
Well, you should have run for the school board, not the legislature.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for amending House Bill 130. Further discussion, Representative Fincher.
Madam Chair, this is a very long amendment. Could I have it read one more time? Could we have
Surely.
It's a long amendment and a lot of moving parts, it seems.
Surely.
Okay, let me
Thank
get
you.
it back here. Okay, this would replace line 23 with the following. Gender identity or sexual orientation in public K-12 schools, to prohibit instruction related to gender identity or sexual orientation at any program or activity of the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission. But also replace lines 36 through 37 on page 2 with the following. The implementation and enforcement of this section. Section 2, an individual or group of individuals providing instruction to students 18 years of age or younger at any program or other activity operated, developed, hosted, or promoted by the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission pursuant to Article 15 of Chapter 9 of Title 41, Code of Alabama 1975, including but not limited to Space Camp and other youth science programs, shall not engage in instruction regarding sexual orientation or gender identity. The Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission shall adopt policies for the implementation and enforcement of this subsection.
Thank you, Representative Gidley. Is there any further questions? Are there?
No.
We have a motion and we have a second on this amendment. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
No. I don't believe the ayes had it. I believe the noes had it on that one. So now we have House Bill 130 with one amendment. Is there any more discussion? Do I hear a motion? For favorable report from Representative Woods. Second by Representative DuBose. I couldn't tell where that came from. I apologize. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
I do believe the ayes have it, but the noes were very loud. Good job. Okay, your bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you so much.
Next, in order someone needs to be out of here, so we are going to call our public hearing for House Bill 91. Representative Stubbs, if you would come and introduce your bill, we would appreciate it. And we are not going to be voting on this bill today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and committee. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. This bill, House Bill 91, is a bill that allows for cross-play in Alabama high school athletics. The Alabama High School Athletic Association represents many public and private institutions throughout the state and is the governing body for their athletic competition. There are several other associations in the state, Alabama Independent School Association and other small Christian associations that represent schools, private schools in different parts of the state. This bill would allow for cross-play, which would essentially mean that members of different associations can compete against one another. The competition is not related to playoffs or region championships or anything like that. It's simply an opportunity for the student athletes at schools to play more competition, and in many cases, it is the proximity to those other schools is very close. So, for example, where I live, Edgewood Academy, which is part of the Alabama Independent School Association, has 6 junior highs or middle schools within about 20 miles, yet they can't play any of those schools in competition. And in many cases, they have to travel an hour or more to play someone, and that's difficult on student athletes and families on a Tuesday night, for example. So this just encourages more opportunities for competition, and I think that this is something that these associations would certainly welcome, and I think many Alabama High School Athletic Association teams would also be willing to participate. It does require both parties to agree. It's not mandating anyone to play anybody, but it allows communities to set up and play tournaments and other things with everybody in that community participating.
Thank you, Representative Stubbs. I also want to thank you for continuing to work with all sides on this issue. We do have a public hearing today, and so we only have two speakers, one proponent and one opponent. And so I'm going to begin the public hearing now and call Michael McClendon, who is a proponent.
Thank you to the committee. And first, I want to thank you all for the work you're doing for education, just in general. And sitting here today and hearing you take on some of these issues is meaningful. And I know that work is tedious and tiring, and we thank you so much for that work. I do speak on behalf of this bill in support, and I have been in this world for many years, and the more opportunities we can keep kids in the classroom and in schools and competing against local competition and save money and time is invaluable. And Representative Stubbs gave a great example of his school, but we've had so many new schools that have opened up over the recent years, and I feel like we'll have some more in the coming 5 or 6 years. But Valiant Cross Academy down the street from the State House here is a great example. And so many others, Reformation in Talladega, The Rock in Phoenix City, and so many others that are opening up and creating athletic programs. And the more opportunities we have to allow those smaller schools particularly to compete with their neighboring opponents, it's a win-win for everybody. It allows both parties to save on that travel. It allows them to build community. And I think community is one of the most important aspects of this bill that may get overlooked because everybody thinks about sports. But the opportunities that we can have moving forward for these schools to spend time with one another, the parents, the stakeholders, local businesses, is extremely important. As you all know, athletics is very important for our communities and has always been something that brings people together. And I think that's what this will accomplish, more so than what athletics has already done in our state. I think we will see a lot of schools coming together to participate with one another that may not have. We'll probably create some wonderful tales of competition and that carry over to the workplace the following week and allow those people that work together to also watch their kids compete against each other. And again, this isn't about championship play. This is about kids playing against each other in tournaments and in local games, particularly in middle school games. And it's just fun to watch those student athletes compete. And I do want to thank Mr. Briggs and the Alabama High School Athletic Association. They have done a tremendous amount of work to try to come to a solution on this through their governance structure. And we're very appreciative to them and the work that they have done to see that this becomes a reality.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Next, I'll call up Mr. Alvin Briggs, who is speaking as an opponent. Good afternoon.
Everybody's doing well. I'm going to echo what Mr. McClendon said. You have a very hard job, and I don't envy what you do and have to do. And there are a lot of people across this state that depend on you to do the right thing. We at the Alabama High School Athletic Association have to oversee 190,000 students, and those are just the ones that participate in athletics. So I can't imagine what you have to deal with, and I understand and I appreciate it, so I won't take too much of your time. I just need you to know that we have been working with Mr. McClendon since I've become the executive director of the Alabama High School Athletic Association to do some things to try to figure out where we are. I'm not a proponent or opponent of this bill. I don't think we need it because we're trying to work with them. We worked with them on several different things, and their board didn't want to do those things that we tried to work with. So, and then before we knew it, this bill by Representative Stubbs popped up on us. We didn't know that that's what they wanted to do, and we would work with. But we're working with them as much as possible to do the right thing and maybe ensure. There are a couple of things that Representative Stubbs and I are working on, and hopefully we can get those done. and we'll be able to do what we need to do in the cross-play bill. That's just some things we have to make sure of because of our association with the National Federation, our governing body, that we have to adhere to if we'll lose our membership, and we don't want to lose our membership. So we have to make sure those things are covered and do those things so our students that are participating with us can continue to participate with us with no issues and not have any of those things to do with. So.
Thank
Do
you,
y'all
Mr.
have any
Briggs.
questions about the crossover play, anything?
While our speakers are here, this is a good time because this is the public hearing. Are there questions about it? Representative Pascal.
Well, first of all, it's good to hear that you guys are working together. That's always great. So with that, do you think this is a good thing for Alabama?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, a certain aspect, just give our schools a chance to do something, and I'm gonna say it publicly that we hadn't done it in over 55 years. The associations haven't had cross-play for various reasons, and we all know what those reasons are. I don't need to say it publicly, but for various reasons they haven't. And this is one of the reasons, you know, that we're coming together, and hopefully we can get those things solved. So, and we can, you know, move on more in a positive note.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Coach Baker.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Director Briggs, thank you so much. I do much appreciate your engagement on this to be proactive, then trying to find a solution for this so that there hopefully would not need to be legislation. Just make a little bit of brief commentary. It's not uncommon for our legislative body to have bills that would be trying to force certain actions or restrictions upon the Alabama High School Athletic Association, in which to me, I'm not one that particularly favors those types of things. I feel like we're getting out of our lane as legislators when we do that, much like it'd be the equivalent of the NCAA and Congress trying to impose restrictions as to how many teams could qualify to be part of the football playoff or any other aspect of athletics and such. So much, I feel like that on the state level as well, that sometimes we have legislators that seek that is to impose restrictions or particular actions upon the Alabama High School Athletic Association. So if we can try to keep this free of legislation, that is definitely then my preference, and you seem to be working towards that in that direction. So I applaud you for doing that. And as well then, Representative Stubbs, you've done a wonderful job in keeping us all very, I guess, aware of the ongoing dialogue and talks that have been going on then towards this, trying to have a workable solution. But once again, I do applaud you, Director Briggs, for that posture, being proactive on that. It would be my desire, hopefully, that we wouldn't have then continued legislation trying to impose then what I feel getting out of our lane, then types of actions or restrictions on the Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Representative Stubbs and I have met about 3 or 4 times and checks about every other week. I mean, so we stay in constant contact.
Thank you so much.
Representative Fincher.
I had a couple of quick questions. I want to thank both of you gentlemen for coming and speaking today. I heard the term junior high used a time or two. This covers both junior high athletics and senior high athletics, I take it?
Yes, sir. That's what it would cover. That's what it would do.
Okay.
Because we as an association cover both junior high and high school athletics, so it would cover both.
My other question is, I know that private schools are asked to move up in classification when they compete against public schools as far as their enrollment and all. Is that included in this bill in any form or fashion?
This is totally different. What this is, and basically what it is, it wouldn't be, as Michael explained, Michael is gone, it's not about championships. All this is will give, I'm gonna use a school in our system that's an Alabama High School Athletic Association. When they have their non-regional, non-area games, they can play against the AISA schools for those games. It wouldn't be where the games would count in championship play, anything like that.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Representative Smith.
I do also commend you on working together. Just a kind of a point blank question to start with. Isn't there already procedures in place where a non-public school could get into the High School Athletic Association and play?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So those regulations they already exist.
Yes, sir.
But yet those schools choose not to be a full part of Alabama High School Athletic Association.
Well, yes, sir. Well, I guess I should make one. All our private schools are part of the AISA, anyway, in academics and activities association. So all our private schools are part of the AISA. The ones that are with us don't only do it for athletic purposes. So they can be a part of both associations, but athletic-wise, they can't because of our affiliation with the National Federation. And so that's what we're trying to get uncovered and get done so we can play them towards their affiliation with the National Federation. They don't have an affiliation with the National Federation, and that's what we're working on trying to get resolved.
Yep. But my point is they do
Yes, sir.
have that opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Thus, they're not taking the opportunity to be full-fledged
members. Yes, sir.
AHSA members. And then being in a small rural school, and we're now proposing school of choice, one of the things I would be just a little bit leery of is that opportunity to recruit those young men at my school to go to their school. And of course, that's going to exist anyway as we have competition and NIL and everything else as it moves down.
We hoping that all that will not happen. We hoping that your community can keep your kids in your communities and still participate with your school, your local school. That's what we strive for.
It is a fear, though, and I do think that if you can, you and Representative Stubbs and these other associations can work something out, we'd love to see that come back as something that would benefit both institutions and protect our students.
Yes, sir.
Representative Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one clarifying point actually arose as Representative Smith was, I guess, asking his question, and that is, I think there's the misconception, the fallacy out there, and that is that the Alabama High School Athletic Association is a public school association. That is false. It is both public and private. So you have the AISA, the Alabama Independent School Association, which is private only. And so this would allow then for that opportunity between the AISA and then the Alabama High School Athletic Association. So it's not just private to public. You're talking about private to private, but they are private within the Alabama High School Athletic Association. There are some that think that the Alabama High School Athletic Association was always a public school association. That is false. There were charter members that were private schools. So this is both a public and private then existence of these schools then are members of that and those that move into the organization going forward. So just a little point of clarity right there, because I think oftentimes there are those in the legislative body that think that the High School Athletic Association is a public school organization. It is not. It is public and private both. And thank you, Director Briggs.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
we are an
clarification.
independent organization, so that's
Right. Thank you for the clarification. Representative Paramore.
Yes, one clarification, and I may need help you clarifying me, but I know in my hometown, we have Charles Henderson High School. We have Pike Liberal Arts School. For years, Pike Lib was in the AISA classification. There is an avenue for them to play public schools. They can join like they just did.
Yes.
Now, but if they choose not to join, those two entities cannot play each other.
As of now.
As of now, that's correct. And I think what some of this is trying to resolve is, can, in the future, if Pike Lib did not do this, could they play Charles Henderson in a preseason jamboree, which is, I think, what we want to do. The reason Pike Lib joined the Alabama High School Athletic Association is they were traveling all the way to Port St. Joe, Florida, all kinds of other places.
I thought it was because we have a great organization.
Well, it is. I will give you that. I will give you that. But they're joining so they can play games against New Brockton, Zion Chapel, places around Troy and in our area where they can actually fill a schedule where kids aren't out of school, especially in non-football sports. So thank you.
Thank you all. Is there any further question? Representative Stubbs, would you like to sum it up? We're not going to be voting today.
Yeah, I just would like to mention a couple of things, and I do appreciate both associations and their hard work. I think that it is important. We as a body have made it clear that we want to encourage choice in our state, and this is a choice for parents to send their children, whether it's a private school that participates in AISA or in AHSAA or in any of those organizations. And while we're talking really high level about organizations, what we're really talking about is kids. And a middle school student that goes to, we'll take an example, Macon East private school in Pike Road, and you have Pike Road Middle School right next door, about 10 minutes away. They all go to church together. They don't know that they're in different associations. All they want to do is play middle school volleyball. And giving them an opportunity for that community to have a volleyball tournament or a volleyball match with these young ladies, or softball or baseball, I don't envision this as a varsity level sport. We're not trying to prove anything. We're looking for more kids to get to participate in more things at a younger age so that they can develop lifelong skills, which we all know that sports is capable of doing. And we've worked very hard with Alvin, and I will say that there are only 2 states in the southeastern United States that do not have this, and that is Alabama and Louisiana. All of the other states in the southeastern states allow this. And the AHSAA allows competition against independent schools in other states, but not in Alabama. So I think it's important that as we look from a geographic perspective and everything else, that if we keep the kids in mind and we keep opportunities for these kids to play, then I think that this will be a winner for the children, for their families, and for both associations.
Thank you. We'll look forward to hearing how that goes as we proceed and decide about a vote at that later time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to call up House Bill 195, Representative DuBose. Sorry.
Thank you, committee. This is House Bill HB 195, which we had a public hearing for this last week. And I think most of you got to hear the really engaging conversation that we had, and I hope you all learned something from that. I know I did. I want to just briefly recap the bill for y'all. This bill reaffirms that sex education in Alabama public schools, it's voluntary, based on each school district. The emphasis is on abstinence as the only 100% effective way to avoid pregnancy and STDs. Abstinence is now known as SRA, or sexual risk avoidance. However, we do continue to allow the teaching of medically accurate contraceptive education and STD education. And you may recall from some of the speakers last week, some of the really interesting instructors that taught in our public schools, how they handled all those discussions and the in-depth conversations that they would have with students. This bill adds discussions that affect students today, such as sexting, cyberbullying, pornography, and the legal implications of participating in those activities. Also, online sexual predators, unhealthy relationships, sexual abuse, coercion, and assault that affect our children today. I'm happy to take any questions that y'all may have. I'm expecting a friendly amendment from Van. And I'm afraid to answer any questions.
Are there any questions about this? I thought we had a good public hearing. I'd like to say our last speaker might have summed it all up, so we appreciate that. Any questions? Is that for Tashina? Do I hear an amendment? Is there someone going to offer an amendment to House Bill 195? It's in our packet. It's in your packet. Are there any surprises about amendments being offered?
Well, you want me to explain your amendment, man? Okay. So this is a good amendment that I think everybody here will like.
Van loves.
It's eliminating the cause of action that's in here. It's on page 8, paragraph 214. It's eliminating the cause of action against any local board of education or any employee in the school. And that's what it does. Yes, ma'am.
Well, first, we have an amendment offered willingly by Representative Smith. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A second by Representative Baker. Representative Drummond.
And this question is for Representative Smith. Will you will you explain the reproductive system for us, please?
That's such an easy question.
I was just teasing that. I didn't.
Are there any questions about the amendment? It's had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill, House Bill 195 is amended. Do I hear a motion? Motion to give a favorable report by Representative Baker, second by Representative Woods. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you. Thank you, committee.
And last, but not very eagerly, we have House Bill 22 by Representative Gidley. And we will call him to the mic.
I love going last. That means I can talk as long as I want to. No, not really. I'm going to do that. Good to see everybody today. Let me share something quickly. I don't know, sometime back, I was in a meeting with school administrators in my local area, and I asked the question. I said, if you're a principal here today and you are out of your school, who's in charge? And the answer was nobody. And that's the case for many of our schools that do not earn an assistant principal unit. Some schools earn half units. I had a meeting with one of my school districts last week, which is a small school district, but that superintendent shared with me that they only earned one half of a unit for an assistant principal. One of the things that's at the top of the list in our school system today is a thing called discipline. We are losing a lot of good teachers because of discipline issues. We're having a lot of people who would be great in the education system that are not going into the education field because of the discipline issues that many times happen in our schools. It's a problem. This bill would designate assistant principals as the primary disciplinarian in the school. Right now, a school has to have around 600 students in order to earn a full unit for an assistant principal. This would drop that number. We're not sure exactly what that number will be, but it would drop that number, which, if the budget is there, would allow for many more of our schools, which currently do not have an assistant principal, to have that in their school. Now, let me talk to you just a little bit about what kind of goes on and understand something. While I'm not in education, I'm very informed in education. Both of my daughters teach in public school. My son-in-law is in one of our community colleges. My sister-in-law is a guidance counselor, and my brother's a retired principal. So I'm surrounded by what goes on a lot in the school system. Let's say, for example, that a principal does not have an assistant, principal in that school system. They have to be out. One of three things is going to happen. Either nobody is going to be there to handle conflict when it arises. That's a problem. Or they're going to assign the secretary to be in charge of handling conflict while they're away. That person is normally not trained. They're trained to do what they do, but they're not trained to handle conflict resolution. Or they're going to ask for a teacher to be in charge of handling conflict resolution while they're away. If that conflict arises and that teacher is pulled out of that classroom, they too sometimes are not trained in how to handle that. Plus, however many students are in that school, in that classroom, whether it be 15 or 25 or 30 are there, are losing very important instructional time. This would help alleviate that problem. Now, understand something. I don't think our discipline issues are going to be solved until we have a major cultural shift. But this would help put a Band-Aid on that oozing sore in many of our schools. Not only would it create a better atmosphere for discipline, it would also hopefully create a better atmosphere for teachers to be relieved of that, for administrators to be relieved of that. I was in a school in my district a few months ago, meeting with the principal, and she was excited because they had just done an addition to their school, and she wanted to take me on a tour for that new addition. Well, when I got there, I first had to wait about 15 minutes to meet with her because she was handling a conflict. Then we went on a tour of the school. About 15 minutes into that tour, the secretary comes running down the hall and calls her by name and says, "I need you now." And she had to move away from our meeting to go handle another disciplinary issue. Administrators should be able to administer. And this would allow, now understand something, in this bill, this doesn't designate that the only thing the assistant principal can do is discipline. It doesn't do that. It just defines that as the primary role. There are other roles that they could still serve as by all means, but it does define that particular role. And hopefully with that definition of that in this bill, we can also go get the fiscal side of this appropriated as well and relieve major pressure on our schools. Because what is the most important part of our school system? It's our students, and making sure that their instructional time is the most beneficial that it can be. And many times that instructional time is hindered because of the lack of the ability to handle disciplinary issues in an effective way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative
And she
Gidley.
cut me off. You see
But
that?
I did it so nicely. I want to say that assistant principals is one of the biggest needs I hear from the local schools and all.
Absolutely.
And we have a substitute bill before us, so we
Right.
need to adopt that. And
Okay.
then if you've got any comments about that sub, we'll open it up for that. Do I hear a motion to adopt the sub? Moved by Representative Pascal. Second by Representative Baker. Now we are on the substitute bill.
Okay.
All in favor of adopting the sub, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we are on the substitute
Okay.
bill. Anything about the substitute you would like to tell everyone?
Everything I've just said about the bill is in that substitute bill.
Okay. Are there questions? Representative Smith.
All right. What number are you projecting to earn an assistant principal?
Right now, we're looking at probably the number of about 250.
What's the physical note on that?
I don't know. That's something to be determined. I have spoken, let me say this too, Representative Smith. I've spoken, of course, with Danny Garrett, went to Danny first, and Danny has been beneficial to work on this. I've also been to Senator Orr, which is the budget chair in the Senate. And of course, Senator Orr says, get this up to him, and they'll look at that. And let me also say that I've worked with many other organizations, our superintendents organizations, and whatever, in preparing this bill. So there's been a lot of work gone into it, but I have communicated with both of those and haven't got an exact fiscal note on what it would be. No, sir.
Representative Gidley, I believe that it is important. I think that this is what we were talking about doing. Representative Baker has an estimate on that cost, but I think defining it was very important to the budget chairman.
Yes.
Representative Baker.
I'll just say, within the substitute bill, and does mention this, so although it might appear that this would be a mandate, it's really not. It does state on this, is on page 3 of the substitute bill, line 58, 59, it says each public K-12 school in the state shall have an assistant principal, but then it goes on to state this, comma, then provided the funding to do so is available. And so anyway, so that's in the bill. So it does cover the fact, so it might appear to be a mandate, but actually it's provided the funding is there. So this will be worked out through the budget chair.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Representative Smith.
With that in mind, one of the things we're working with a limited amount of money when everything's said and done. And one of the greatest ways we could increase academic performance and discipline in schools is reduce the number of children per teacher. And what I'm afraid of is we're going to take another person out of the school or the money for another person out of the school to put them in administration, which I was a principal, I was an assistant principal, I understand, okay? But one of the things too that we need to do is make sure our principals empower our teachers so that everything doesn't have to come to the office, and it can be done. But I think we need to really look at the physical note and make sure it doesn't take away from academic instruction.
Mm-hmm. And I have pretty good assurance, again, and I appreciate Representative Baker's comments. This doesn't mandate this. This simply defines that role. And then the fiscal note would come beyond that. Okay, so if the fiscal note's not there, then, this is not going to happen. But this would define the role and therefore hopefully move us forward toward finding the place to do the fiscal note.
Thank you. Representative Fincher.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Gidley. I have been in the school for a long, long time. And the thing, when I first read this bill, the thing that worried me, honestly, Representative Gidley, is if you have a principal and you are lucky enough to have an assistant principal, or if you have earned one, I don't want to put parameters around there that define everybody's role in the school. That worries me. Sometimes you have male assistant principals, sometimes you have female assistant principals, but I would not like to say that the assistant principal has as their primary role discipline or anything else, really. I would like for the administrators. We all have strengths and weaknesses and things we do well and maybe not so well. And I would not like to say, you know, maybe the principal needs to do the enforcing. Maybe the principal is the one who is the disciplinarian. Maybe the assistant principal can pick up more administrative type activities and that sort of thing. Once you start defining things and putting labels on things, sometimes you tie the hands of those that need to be making the decisions, and that would be my only comment.
Thank you, Representative Fincher. I appreciate those comments. I believe the way this bill is worded and written, it does not hem in that assistant principal to be only in that role. It defines that as a primary role, but not the only role. It gives both the superintendent and, of course, that principal the ability to define and to also assign other things to that particular office. So it doesn't hem it in.
Say that will be their primary role.
Well, it will be a primary role, yes, but not the only role. It would be, you know, they could have other functions as well, yes.
Representative Drummond.
Madam Chair, I guess I'm piggybacking. He asked, Representative Fincher asked some of the questions I was going to ask, because discipline things happen sort of organically. And I'm wondering, I have the same concerns, but since you've already answered his question, in here you talked about if there are more than one assistant principal, that the local superintendent or board, I believe it was.
The superintendent, yes.
The local superintendent would define what those roles would be. Why wouldn't you allow the principal who has charge over that school, and because things happen so organically, be the one to make those role designations instead of putting the local superintendent? That principal is the one who's the boot on the ground.
Well, let me tell you what my experience has been. I'm not saying this is the experience across the entire 67 counties of the state, but my experience has been that most superintendents, at least the ones I have been associated with, and I have 4 in my district, most of the time they refer to their principals and say, you know, now that may not be the situation all the way across the state, but most of the time they do. And we do have some large schools who do have more than one assistant principal. So it would be important for there to be flexibility there for them to be able to cover other roles. So that would be my answer to that. I don't know if that will be a problem or not, but I know in my area, most of the time the superintendent, he is the person in charge of that school system, but yet refers most of the time to the principals for information of how to define what they do in each individual school.
Well, I happen to be in a county where we probably the largest system in the state. That would be pretty problematic for a system as large as ours. And so I want you just to look at that, because that's a lot of responsibility.
I mean, you know, and if there's other things that need to be defined, I'd be open to some amendments here, either here or on the floor of the one.
Representative Baker.
To some of the points that have been made, and that's one of the things that I guess I'm big on sort of wording and such, and trying to clarify on some things. I've heard mentioned 2 or 3 times now that this would be a primary role, and nowhere within the language do I find primary and such, that this becomes that. So, which I'm
That may
not
be
really.
my word, Representative Baker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm getting back.
Yeah.
I'm in support of the bill, and to me, it's more. The bill seems to be more advocating. That is, that there needs to be, if at all possible, if funding is available, then for there to be stronger support to the principal, the school at large, and as well by having then. I guess adequate number of administrators, or when I say adequate, as many as we feel that we would be able to financially then afford. But the bill, it's once again, it just states. So to me, it has not necessarily ascended or magnified that the discipline role is above all the other duties. In fact, within the actual language in the bill, it states very clearly. It says. That they shall include assisting the principal with administration, enforcement of board policy, and all applicable laws, including but not limited to student discipline, instruction, management. It goes through the whole list of things.
Yes.
So to me, it doesn't propel or put then school or the discipline above that. Now, don't get me wrong, school discipline is highly important, and I see this as an effective step towards trying to provide teachers more support. Then ultimately, and so I think that's part of the goal with this, and just the administrative duties. But I did want to clarify on that because I think there has been maybe misinterpreted, and that was to Representative Fincher. That was the way I first saw that. Maybe as that was a primary role, but as I looked at it a little bit deeper, to me it became more clear that it actually was just that's a part, including of that, but not necessarily the focus.
Thank you for that
so much.
clarification, Representative Baker. I appreciate that.
Representative Baker brings up a good point about if it's, if they're able to fund it. One thing you have to look at too, if you lower that number to 250, where do you put the second assistant principal in? Because these schools that have more than one assistant principal, currently I think it is around 600.
600 for one, yes.
And then, there's when you go to like 900, 1,000, you get the second one. So, you might want to look at how that's going to progress up because each school system might have to fund some of that out of local funds, which could cause a further challenge.
Sure.
Do we have a motion yet? We have adopted the sub. Do I hear a motion for favorable report from Representative Baker? Do I have a second from Representative Woods? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The bill is given a favorable report.
Thank you very much, committee.
We are adjourned.